a content piece actually, talking about the draw, Jesse and I. And we picked out Sonics and VP, and I said at the time, VP might surprise you here. You know, I know that Sonics came in as one of the favourite NA teams, and there was a lot of people will have looked at that and thought, oh, great pick for Sonics, get Virtus.pro, you know, middle of the pack EU team, no problem. But the problem that you have when you're facing Virtus.pro is Virtus.pro have a real habit of playing and performing to what's in front of them. And when you put them, especially on LAN, against great teams, they have shown historically, year after year after year, that they can deliver great performances.
Don't forget, they finished third at SI this year.
Exactly, this is what I mean.
Incredible semi-final for them.
Incredible semi-final against W7M. And this is what I mean. It's Virtus.pro have a habit of performing to what's in front of them, and they did that against the Sonics yesterday. You know, they find themselves here against SSG now. It's not going to be a smooth, plain, you know, simple road for anybody into a final here in Montreal. That much is for sure. It's going to be littered with games like this where you look at it and it honestly is the toss of the coin which way this one goes. We saw great play out of SSG yesterday. You know, there was mistakes along the way against Sonics, but they showed great resilience to come back to get that win in overtime. It was an unbelievably entertaining game that we had to close the day out yesterday, and I'm just hoping for more of it against Virtus.pro now.
I think more bans towards their own comfort side here, to be honest, because both Monty and the Azami aren't massive operators that SSG tend to have in their wheelhouse, whereas on the other side of things, well, Joystick's been very much target banned by that Nomad ban coming out, and the Warden also a target ban in towards him. I'm sure someone somewhere is asking the question, respect or fear, and I imagine for Joystick it's probably more of a case of fear, although over the last 10 weeks, again, across the stage and throughout this major, it hasn't really been his day. Lowest rated on his team overall so far, so you might say, okay, target bans in towards Joystick. That's more about being fearful of the potential of Joystick and what he can do when he's on the right day. I remember like a few years ago, we were in SI and it was a group stage, and it was back-to-back-to-back action for 5 days straight. And I think the average kills that Joystick had every single game was 14 kills, if you remember. When he starts hitting, he is nigh on unstoppable. It's that consistency. It's the same question with BDS, really. It's about consistency with Virtus.pro. One day they look like they can win everything. The next day, they look like a really rigid team that really struggle to adapt to very flexible defenses or attacks coming out of the other side. And I just worry how well they'll deal with the somewhat erratic nature of SSG's gameplay. It's hard to predict and read into sometimes.
Let's get into it then, 30 seconds into the action phase. SSG are going to be defending the top floor to kick things off. Not my favourite site on the map. We will see how they go with it. Usually very 50-50 in terms of who is going to come away with this. No real advantage for the defenders to be found up on the top floor. Interesting use of the observation blocker there just to prevent them seeing exactly what the setup is inside of Cigar. I think sometimes maybe slightly underrated. Piece of utility. Look at this action. He just can't see enough of the man. He knows that they are there, but he's going to have to dip himself away. That was agonizingly close for him.
This is so unrelated to the professional stage we're watching, but tell me Mozzi's video animation isn't the best one in the world, by the way.
Oh, it's
I love it.
If you get like a really nice like clutch or 2K with Mozzie, make sure you hit that reload because it just makes your clip look amazing.
The swing comes in and Fultz is gone. Joystick spoke about him a second ago. Well, he's on the Ash, Tim. What else is he going to be on when the Nomad's banned away? We've seen him tear teams apart on this Ash many times over. Wasn't quite respectful of J9O though, down on Pixel. Ashing into a second. SSG so far holding on well, despite that initial entry coming in from Virtus.pro.
Yeah, they've stood up well to the pressure there, and they're keeping hold of some key areas. That's what's important. Ashen still underneath, making life difficult on the Mozzie. Nitro in hand, he's down there to try and deny access into Piano, so should they move J9O out of here? Look at that from J9O. Doesn't even flinch at the nade coming over his head. Just goes straight up to the window, takes down always 4 versus 2. SSG looking super comfortable up on this top floor.
And even without the Nomad on the side, they've just changed over and started bringing the gridlock instead, right? So it's not like it's a massive impact on the Virtus.pro setup. If nothing else, you've unleashed Joystick to be a little bit more aggressive. So maybe that ban may come back to bite them. Time will tell on that front. But J9O so far has done so much work around this Piano side. Just about gets away with his life here as well. A headshot would have been enough to see him finished off, but 63 HP is what he'll walk away with.
Dan's just having a look, see if he can get anything going from Cigar here, but with 25 seconds left to go, they know that there's going to come a point where they just need to push in. Shepard's still on the rappel.
I know.
There's just no real, I don't think there's any real sort of urgency or attempt to get this one done realistically. They know that the time is numbered. They know that SSG are likely going to lock it down. Shepard does eventually join Dan inside of the map, but Dan is already dead. Shepard looking for the one inside of Washroom, takes him down, but it was beautifully set up by SSG for Ashen to step out and find the
kill. He's gassing up the team.
Sounds like his voice is going there.
Oh, thank God. Because in case you guys don't know as well, we have 4 booths. They're all facing into each other, like 2 side by side. You have 2 of the teams that are playing sat on one side, 2 on the other. So they don't face each other directly. The teams playing each other, they'll be in booths next to each other. But it does mean you can see the other teams that are playing the other game. And as we saw yesterday, they had the whole like wave motion, the wave that was building up. We started doing it as well. Everyone was getting involved. It was a good time. Everyone smiled and laughed. Maybe except for not Virtus.pro in this first round though. For SSG, it was a really good start. And as I said, J9O was the real X factor for them. Unchecked on Pixel to begin with, and then really just took control of the ground that opened up. And from there, there's nothing that Virtus.pro could really do to fight their way back in. So a bit of a slow, lethargic start for them. And SSG, as you can tell, very happy with how things have played out. Now we go down to the basement, or kitchen in this case, and look at what they're bringing out as a comp team. You've got the Mute Mozzie coming along here for full information denial. You've got the Goyo and the Smoke. You've got the Yokais. That's a lot of information. It's a lot of denial of information, and it's a lot of denial of operators too, like what I'm seeing from SSG.
My concern for Virtus.pro, if I'm looking at this and, you know, thinking where are they going to find rounds, my concern for Virtus.pro would be that they do, we know, we've said it a million times, play super structured, don't really change things up too much. They play their game, and that's what they're going to do, and they plan to just do it better than you can stop them. The problem is, against a team like SSG, that might not actually work very well, because we saw it from SSG against Sonics yesterday. You know, Ashen's so willing to jump over the side of Banana and get 3 kills, and they're just willing to take those risks, do those little different things. It's not going to always be the same. It's not going to be rinse and repeat, and that makes them a very flexible team. So if Virtus.pro are coming in a way, and they're trying to deal with that push and it's not working, SSG are going to have plan B, plan C, plan D. They're going to try all these different things, these crazy little attempts like we saw Ashen just, you know, lead prone underneath the mining window. They're going to try all these little tricks. Nitro's gonna pick up a kill onto Always, and it's gonna make, there you go, perfectly. Thank you, Benja, for proving my point. They're willing to go out of windows. They're willing to really make it difficult for Virtus.pro, because the problem is when they start doing all this, Virtus.pro are not really the team to adapt to it, Des. They're not really the team to change what they're doing. They're just going to keep playing into it in the same way.
It's the pace that worries me a little bit here as well. I mean, the book being gone isn't the end of the world. They've still got 6 breaching charges they can make use of, but it's more the fact that with the book being offline, you're not going to open that ground up as fast. Virtus.pro aren't a super pacey team. They're not known as one of being the more, you know, like SSG, I guess, a bit more erratic, a little bit more crazy, able to go from slow to fast at the spin of a dime. And I just worry here that with the amount of time they've got left on side, like, yeah, they're in a spot where they've got this first floor control, but they've lost 2 players, and SSG has said, you know what? You want that first floor, you take it. We're in a 5v3 here. We can just keep playing 1-for-1, and we win.
Yeah, that's it. SSG going to be more than comfortable now just to sit back and allow Virtus.pro a little bit of time and space. They don't need to be throwing bodies at this. They don't need to be losing lives. Shepard is going to push down the stairs, looking to challenge onto VIP. Gets his man. That is a really important piece of the puzzle that he's managed to find, taking down J9O. Looks to the one behind long bar, but cannot find him. Going to see Shepard down now, so effectively it's all up to Joystick and Pasha. 45 seconds left to go. They've got 4 of SSG to face up to. We will see Shepard picked up, so that's something at least for Virtus.pro to hold on to here. They've still got the blitz, albeit on very low health.
Same as the last round, isn't it, really, in a 4 versus 2? Like, you might find them picking up a kill or 2. To be fair, back to a 3v3 because they've managed to actually recover Shepard.
3v2 on site at the minute, then just off site.
Here we go, and they've also found the Mozzie tucked him. Down he goes. Oh, no! Ashen's found his man. He'll be very noisy after this if he gets away with it. No. Pasha with the shutdown. Forest onto 1 more, and it's still a 2 versus 1 with 15 seconds to play. I don't care how good you are, Joystick. SSG are not going to give you these isolated kills. They'll give you maybe 1. I'm sure Benjamaster is long gone and hidden away and giving him absolutely nothing over to the other side.
No, absolutely not. Joystick's not going to get anything done here. That'll be the round closed out. SSG with a second. Shepard. Shepard had a real opportunity there, Des. He gets the flash onto the Mozzie inside a court check, hops through the window, and the reality is he missed his shots. If he hits those, you're talking about a different situation there. Benja's off site, they 3v1 on site potentially. If they can make that call, if they have that intel and they rush in, Benja's got to fight his way back in then. Plant can be going down, shield on his back for Shepard. It could have been really difficult for SSG to deal with, and it shows the fine margins that we're dealing with. Shepard goes in, it's not the easiest. You're on the pistol, you don't have a scope, it's, you know, a little bit trickier, but you've got to be finding them. You've got to be finding them. Here we go.
That's painful.
You've got to be finding it.
I don't think Ashen was full white flash as the main one.
I don't think he was. I don't think he was. But Shepard got, I think, 3 shots off there, and they were all left of his head. If it connects, it's done. He's at head level. It's done. Like, yeah.
Different conversation then, because you force Benji, you leave the bakery player isolated. Yep. You get a plant down there so comfortably.
Absolutely.
But this is the fine margins that we often speak about. You know, 1 kill, it might not feel significant in isolation, but in the entire round, it absolutely is. Here we go then, we're downstairs into Reading and Fireplace, and a small change in comp, still sticking towards the Intel Dinar, which I really like, because Virtus.pro, I think it was about 18 months ago, when quizzed as to what the hell was going on with the team, was they would say, you know, we'll drone something, we'll drone it again, we'll drone it again, and then we'll drone it again, and lose all these drones and still not be able to make a decision. They're indecisive, they don't trust the information they've seen with their own eyes, which is really weird. So what I like that SSG are doing is kind of leaning into that old school weakness of theirs and saying, right, let's punish the Intel game here, let's give them basically nothing, don't give them access to areas of the map, make them uncertain, and that hesitation could be what comes back to bite them. And if that ain't enough, you've now got to work your way through 2 of our architects in Siege as well, in the Mirror and the Castle, which can drastically transform how sites get played. So once again, lots of roadblocks, lots of hurdles being put up in front of a team that's so far proven to be a little bit slow, and SSG are very, very capable of tripping up in the early rounds.
Just going to be avoiding the Mozzie pests for the time being. Is Pasha looking to make sure that stage itself is at least clear before they look to go on in and start getting this bit of top floor control. Of course, Virtus.pro looking to attack into Reading, so SSG not going to want to be giving anything up too soon, certainly not now. Red pings are going to be coming out onto that player inside of Cocktail. Also, the one that we just see there challenging, I say one, different angle, going to be challenging, as I say, out of Cocktail. Difficult for Fultz here, but he showed us yesterday a great ability to absorb pressure, to waste time for his team, and that's what he continues to do. They still don't have an answer to him. Minute and a half into the round, and Fultz using every ounce of his experience to keep himself lodged in a difficult spot.
That's why the mirror window's a little bit lower down here as well. They can't shoot him if they get rid of the mirror window. Either way, a nade's going to be enough to force him away, but as you say to him, it's taken half the round to get that done, and there's still 2 more players they've got to try and clear off of this top floor, and then you've got to start worrying about sides itself. The C4 up top for the alley-oop, not quite finding his man, doing a little bit of damage on towards Dan. Here is now down to half HP. Again, just constantly trying to trip Virtus.pro is the big piece of this. Jane, I know, taken out. There's still one more inside a white corridor. I wonder if they know, because this would suddenly be 3 players taken offline, and we're having a very different conversation.
Ashen is going to find always, but Pasha is there for the trade. Virtus.pro have been really good in this clearance here. They've used the utility well to dislodge these SSG players and to create that space for themselves to move on in. They've now got top floor control. They can start working vertically towards site. They still have the sledge on site, so Pasha, he's just going to town at the minute, ripping up that floor, just trying to create those angles that they need. Find those last couple of defenders, but also create a safe little pocket of space so that they can get this diffuser down, and that is going to be the next step, I would imagine, just inside of Reading door.
Got to start moving something forwards, and you've already given one away as that clock starts to tick on down, but at this point they should have, maybe not. Look at this at the range, they're going to find his man unless he wins the reverse. No, he's down. All right, one's above, so this now means they've got to win. The shot on sight, he nearly gets the second down to Dan as well. No way do they choke this one out. Plant was looking to go down for a second, but not quite to be. Back up on his feet, now it's getting stuck. He's just going to find the planter, but they're not going to give him the chance. Pasha, with the pistol, finds his man, and Virtus.pro claw that round over the finish line.
That was...
that was a bit too close for comfort.
That was really, really close.
Not good.
It was a great effort from SSG, just fighting out of the laundry there. Interestingly, not having that rotate already set up, but it's not necessarily the end of the world. You've got the shotgun in hand. It was a little bit more of an on-the-fly play. Just open up the hole when you need it, and, you know, maybe it provided a little bit of a false sense of security for Virtus.pro. They're thinking they don't have the rotate. Let's get in and get that diffuser down, but no sooner had they tried than that rotate portal, or at least a peak hole, had been opened up so that they could see on through to where they needed to. But a good attack that time from Virtus.pro. The top floor clearance was particularly good. You know, they had some real clinical movement. It took them a little bit of time, minute 30, but they didn't lose any bodies doing it. They took 3 kills up there as well. So, you know, ultimately, good stuff.
It had a little bit of everything for me because they had the push into the cocktail play. That was a team effort with utility to getting cleared away. The mirror window placement was really smart to make sure that it was hard to push him. They got it done with a nade. They then find themselves fighting off against Ashen, which was a trade, so again, another good bit of team play. And the second kill that they got actually was the rounding, I think it was of always, through main bar to find J9O inside of stock, which just came down to a straight up, you know, outmaneuvering the enemy team. So there's 3 individual kills there that have come through in very different fashions, but just showing that Virtus.pro are still very much together here and aren't going to let SSG barrel over them in this first half.
However,
I say that.
I just thought I'd give a pause for dramatic effect at the end of your sentence there, Des, because I could see that Dan was on his way up on the rappel, and I thought, this ain't going to end well. Venger takes him down with a beautiful entry there, just waiting for his man, and just showing great map knowledge, really, as to where those rappels might just come on through, and picks it up nice and easily.
It comes back again into the whole mute multi setup. Every single round we've seen these 2 operators being brought along because they know they can deny the information away from Virtus.pro, and that's when they get sloppy. When they aren't 100% confident of something, you can make them pay. And so with that information, you're walking blind towards corners. You've got not quite a spawn peak, but a very early round kill waiting for you at a window too. It makes things really hard for Virtus.pro to get through to the point of executing inside of a round without being tripped up and losing a couple of players along the way. So I do like the strategy coming out of SSG. Yes, Virtus.pro are meandering their way through it. Yeah, they've been tripped up a couple of times as well, but that's the main challenge of this game, I think, is all about that information.
Getting towards halfway through the round then, and Virtus.pro still not really established inside of the map. That's going to become a little bit of a problem for them. Joystick has now taken the drop onto red stairs, but the question is, and we'll find out in about a minute 20's time, is it going to be too little too late? Are they giving themselves enough time to be able to deal with this? Joystick just picking up a couple of pieces of utility as he goes, but as we can see, still players up on that top floor that are going to need to be dealt with the push across here. It's something Virtus.pro did really well last time, but it's taking longer and longer. We're nearly down to that final minute now. J9O finally chooses to drop himself away. That's going to give the top floor control that Virtus.pro want, but do they have enough time now to make it pay?
That's the big battle for them at this point. Don't know if they will. Getting down to that last 16, you've still got 5 players to face off against, and the C4 finds another. Feels like a repeat of a couple of rounds ago. I was speaking about them just tripping up, putting up hurdles in front of Virtus.pro and not letting them get to the point where they can actually execute on the site. It's frustrating because they can't drone out these roamers because of that mute mozzie that I keep on speaking about. You get towards the site and you've got things like the mirror to face off against. It was the castle in the previous round. There's just so many things to have to face off against, and right idea here. There is a player downstairs and they will punish him for it. But Tim, it's 2.5 minutes and they've just found their first kill. We're still running around the top floor getting ourselves set up at the sledge. It's once again going to be another 10-second push coming in here, and that doesn't tend to go well for Virtus.pro.
No, exactly not. 15 seconds now, realistically. Still opening up that floor above them. The drop is going to have to come eventually. It looks like it's going to be into mining corridor. They go over the barrier as well, into pillars, but only into the waiting arms of Venger, who gets himself a double. Always does manage to find the trade, but it's far too little, far too late. We called it at the minute 30 mark, Des. There was not going to be enough time for Virtus.pro, and they ran out of the seconds that they needed.
It's becoming quite a consistent theme across these rounds is my main concern now, and for Virtus.pro, this is where change has to come in. Like, it's Cafe. You expect to struggle on the attack a bit in general.
It's not their main strength.
No, but I would again look at it and say for
change.
Yeah, that's very true.
Their main strength.
And that's what they're always known for, this as being the team that run the same strats every single time and just believe they're going to be better at you because they've drilled it to the nth degree. It doesn't matter what kind of counters you bring along, they'll just beat you. That was kind of the old school Team Empire sort of, what am I thinking of here? Whatever it was. Huh?
MO.
To that degree, I couldn't think of the word I was trying to think of, but that's essentially it. That's what they were known for, right? The stereotype about them, I guess you could say, is that's how they were playing. Things no doubt have changed over time. You know, Virtus.pro have grown, of course, developed as a team. It's not the same 5 that were on Team Empire back in the day. Scooter no longer here. Of course, it's Pasha that's playing with them. I just feel that you're seeing that sort of slightly static nature really starting to bite them a little bit, where they're a little bit too slow to deal with threats, but I don't 100% think that's their fault. It's down to a really good game plan coming out of SSG, because like I keep on stressing, it's about the intel denial, and for now, the 5th round in a row, you're going to see that mute and mozzie again.
Yeah, SSG are playing into Virtus.pro really, really well here. They know what they need to do, and that is a little bit of unpredictability for the first minute, which we've seen, get a kill or two, and then just sit back and let Virtus.pro waste their own time.
Yep.
And it's working absolutely perfectly, to be honest with you. Every time that they get those opening kills, you'll see drop back away. They don't keep challenging. They don't throw their lives away with it. We saw it in the last round, 5 versus 4. They all drop away. About minute 30, Virtus.pro go in, bang, full hits a nitro from below.
Yep.
Easy as that, and that's exactly you know, what SSG are setting up to do round after round. So let's see if they can have success with it again. We can see SSG again, beginning of the round, making it difficult. Player up on the top floor. They're going to try and create that little bit of chaos for Virtus.pro, give them some problems to solve, take a kill if they can, waste a minute and a half, and then it'll be drop back to site.
Yeah. It's, again, this is the route where you now turn to Virtus.pro and where you enjoy, like, yesterday we had so many games that started with one team in the lead, and the other would bounce back, and the other would fight their way back in, would go to OT, and it always became a guessing game.
Why did you not know about it?
This is the 3rd round now, but not in a row, but 3rd round in this half where Benja has done this, has got aggressive against the window, or tried to do something a little bit crazy, and Virtus.pro just aren't adapting to it. You can say until you blew in the face of the problem, but some things just will never change. A good pinch here onto Ashen, which is what they did do well in one of their earlier rounds, and that's an unfortunate team kill. I mean, you've helped him out there, you've killed a teammate and then been killed by Always for free. Like, what the hell's happened there? Curious.
I assume that J9O had seen Always and was trying to make a challenge onto him, has caught Benja on a rotate and hit him instead, and then Always has been able to win the gunfight that he was going into.
Yeah.
Would be my guess at the chain of events there. That seems to make sense. But SSG have crumbled in this round. It's unfortunate for them. Obviously, team kills happen. It's, you know, nobody's fault. It's just one of them things. Trying to deal with the blitz here. A lot of damage being taken. That nitro will surely be enough. Fultz brings it back to 2v3. And with the blitz being taken out, Des, this just becomes a little bit more possible. Fultz and Forest both full health, and the time is ticking down. Now towards the final minute, there's utility on site that might be able to burn a little bit more time as well. This is definitely winnable from here.
I feel like they played against the blitz so well when it's been brought out too. I mean, they banned the Warden away, so they had to have a game plan, but the C4s they've been making use of and the crossfires that have come on through, sure, a bit of a fortunate half flash coming onto Ashen inside a coat earlier on in a couple of rounds ago. But they've dealt with it. It hasn't really been a big threat to them. Look at this, the rounding up here from Fultz as well. Wants to retake. Oh my God, he is absolutely taken Always his soul. Deleted from the field, and now he's got the vertical. Do they know about the retake above? No, they apparently don't. Down's last one. Joystick might be in and going for the plant, but where's the other player at this point as well? Forest should be rounding onto this one and looking to get involved. Come on about Forest. It's on the other side, Forest trying to get his way back through as well. Joystick's managed to get this one complete, so the two of them really need to be rounding in here and taking this contest together. Forest down to half HP already, now rounding out towards red, 11 HP to his name, but finds his man. Fultz with a quad in the round, and SSG will be up 4-1.
Good fucking shit. Good fucking job. Alright, down here. Good shit.
What a finish to the round. Absolutely brilliant stuff from SSG there. Fultz once again. How many times are we going to see that out of Fultz? We saw a big 1v3 from him yesterday. He stepped up fantastically well there. As soon as he hits it and gets it down to 2v3, that's where I said this becomes winnable. You know, one kill was all it was going to take, and Fultz found it, went upstairs and completely unlocked the round. But it also shows a lack of comms from Virtus.pro there. There's been a kill above, and yet he gets a second through the vertical. I know they're running out of time once again, but still, where is the call to say he's above you, he's above? You know, they weren't even paying any attention to the verticals above. Fultz was able to just get one for absolute free. I'm very surprised, to be honest, that Virtus.pro got the diffuser down. Like you say, I'm kind of looking towards Forest downstairs and thinking, where are you? Like, you got to be stopping this plant, but it didn't matter. They got it won in the end, and it was job done. But great play from Fultz.
Main thing I can't really fault Forest for there is waiting for Fultz to kind of catch up, so they can force the 2 versus 1.
Yeah, you don't want to.
Rather than challenging the 1v1, leaving Fultz then in a 1 versus 1, which is the worst thing you can do. Like, I get it. It looks a little bit like, mate, you could have stopped him running and going for a plant here, but they were so confident in the retake. They were just like, look, let him plant and we'll win this out comfortably, because he puts himself in a box, and then that box was quite literally flour, rice, whatever you want to call it, box in some cases. Got himself locked in and well ultimately taken down. SSG thundering through this half, and Virtus.pro not able to keep up, it feels, and not able to change in response to what they're seeing.
No, exactly that. Exactly that. And it's kind of what we
Another
expected.
spawn peak?
You know it's going to come. You know that it's going to come. Virtus.pro know that it's going to come. But the question is, are they going to adapt and do something about it, or are they going to allow it to happen again? And I think we know the answer is they're probably going to allow it to happen again. And this is the issue that Virtus.pro have got. They're not reacting to what's in front of them, and SSG are taking full advantage of it.
Ben just hoping someone comes on the Esports, which they surely should do at some stage. It might not be now, but at some point someone will have to be on those east windows to be able to contest in towards Cocktail and restrict the movement of defenders, to put a bit of pressure in towards storage as well.
I also don't think Virtus.pro's intel's been great either.
I mean, they've got no choice, let's be honest. When you've got 4 jammers down, you've got 4 Mozzie pests, like, you can't get much insight into the building, which again is why I love the way that SSG have approached this, is knowing that they can starve Virtus.pro of energy, make them second guess themselves, make them play slow, and it's worked an absolute treat this half so far. I think it's very clear they've looked back at what else has happened, and feel they've got the answer, or looked back at the previous game where I think it was Virtus.pro playing this yesterday, looked back at that previous game and realised where their strength was coming from and have prepared for it really well. So a big shout out to the backroom staff, in this case the analyst, the coach for example, getting involved and making sure they were ready for this game.
Shepard was particularly concerned about a potential run out there.
What? Nah, what?
Excuse me. Bolts survives the grenade, but will not survive Dan walking in.
The shield died,
finding
he
that
didn't.
final kill. The shield must have took all the blasters, what can I say? 4 versus 4 as they find him taken down, but the Dokkaebi that was taken out at the beginning by the Nitro is going to be a big loss potentially when trying to find these players that are underneath. Ashen, once again, just roaming around on that Mozzie. We saw him down in the basement. He's likely up to the mid-floor by now. Just going to be looking. Potentially he's got himself all the way back up to top, actually. I thought he might well just stick around underneath for a Nitro, but no, it's going to be Benja actually that's down there doing that same job. But Nitro is gone. He will potentially be able to hit them on the flank, but like I say, they're going to have difficulty chasing him down here, given that the Dokkaebi is gone.
The real nightmare Benja is.
Oh, he's got the shotgun as well. He can just, if they go to plant somewhere, he can just, it'll just off surface.
And he's got to
open it up.
I mean, back on G2, he was like, I think double the next player when it came around to explosive kill secure with nades and with C4s. He was an absolute menace. No doubt he's looking for a similar sort of setup here. Not that it matters. Jane, I know, has gone through 2. Benja finally strikes, bringing down Shepard. Looks to be a very nice complete half for SSG, unless Always can pull out something magical here in a 1v2. Ashen is down on the deck, right sort of idea. There is 1 down on White. 1 actually on site itself. Will he be able to find his man? Not too sure, but he wins this 1 versus 1 and suddenly momentum shifts massively. But time, Tim, as always, is going to be the greatest enemy. Doesn't find Forrest, turns around and finds him. A 5-1 half for SSG. Really well played there in response to VP.
And you see the difference in comms that I'm talking about there. You see the difference. You see the difference in comms. Fultz goes upstairs, gets a kill. Virtus.pro don't react to that. He gets another one through the vertical. You see it there. Ashen's downed, he gets finished off by Always. Immediate comm as to where he is. He's pushing through Freezer, he's pushing through back storage, and then they can wheel around and get the kill at bags. It's job done. And SSG are just looking really sharp right now. I've been really impressed with them first half. I think their style suits playing against Virtus.pro down to the ground. I think they've read into, you know, how to beat Virtus.pro particularly well. Get aggressive, cause chaos in the first minute to minute 30, and then sit back and let them waste time, let them, you know, try to do an entire round's worth of work in half a round and watch them then attack with 15 seconds left to go. SSG have done a great job.
The one thing I'll come back to again is the setup they had. Playing behind that intel denial was so key to that whole half. And again, it's the backroom staff that I'll commend for that, the counter analysis that they've done. But for Virtus.pro, they didn't adapt throughout the half is what really frustrates me. Like, there were chances there to try different things. Like, can you go fast and bring along, I don't know, go for a fuse and a blitz if you really want to and just push hard with shields, or try something a little bit more crazy. Bring along the Grimbees if you want to and really smoke out the players that are potentially in rat spots. But there was no real attempt to change up the comp there to deal with these players that are roaming. Benja had the whole map to himself as a playground, essentially. So it's a learning point, I think, for Virtus.pro. It's more about the adaptation when teams have got you figured out. But again, full credit to SSG and their team. They're the ones who figured this out, and they're the ones who battered Virtus.pro that first half.
Well, that intel denial setup plays in, you know, perfectly to what I'm saying, really, is the 2 key things they've tried to do is create a bit of chaos and get early kills, and then to sit back and let Virtus.pro waste time. And the intel denial plays into both of those. We saw Benja get a couple of kills where normally he should have been spotted out there. There should have been aware of his presence. They're not, because they're trying to play around this intel denial. And Benjers took advantage of that perfectly, creating that chaos. Later in the round, that same intel denial is some of it still in place, then burns time, because Virtus.pro have to try and work their way through it slowly and cautiously. But brilliant stuff. Let's see how they do then on the attack instead.
Yeah, I was about to say Dan might be getting pinched in from both sides here potentially, but Forest is now backed away, back on towards the drones, which means Fultz was very much left in a, I'll call it a 1v1, but you're against an Aruni there, sat behind a mirror window. It's always going to be hard to win. I think they're broken away now with the Ash too, so not so bad for them, but look at this, already 2 kills out of, I won't say nowhere, because SSG are coming for the challenge, but Virtus.pro just do not miss.
Always just going to be locked inside of Cocktail at the minute. You feel like Virtus.pro are going to be definitely better on the defensive side. As we've said, they do have the ability, they do have the capability, they don't often miss shots, and we've spoken about how they are very, rigid in their setups. They know exactly what they're going to be doing. The plan is there, and it just lends itself better to defense. You don't have to be as adaptive. You don't have to, have multiple plans on the fly necessarily when on defense. Virtus.pro are going to be more comfortable being able to play into their own setup rather than having to think around SSGs, and we can see that already. 4 versus 2 and looking pretty comfortable in round 7.
You've got the one up on the top floor in Cocktail still. The other 2 are back on site at this point, or at least around site. They can isolate this player. The nice thing is, you look at the cases where Virtus.pro to get to this sort of situation back in the first half, they've got the numbers advantage, but time is running away from them quickly, whereas SSG here still have half a round to work with. Blind, admittedly, have been absolutely battered by Virtus.pro in that first round, and I always love saying it, Tim. 2 halves to a game of Siege, you've just seen a round like nothing else that you've seen there. Virtus.pro finally hitting some shots and finally getting the upper hand on SSG.
Yeah, and now comes a crucial time. I've spoken about SSG being the more flexible, the more adaptive team that's willing to try different things. The question is now, can they out-adapt Virtus.pro? So on the attack, Virtus.pro, they struggled to deal with what SSG were doing on the defense. Are SSG able and capable to turn things around, or do they keep playing into Virtus.pro, much the same as Virtus.pro did on the attack, and do we find ourselves potentially heading towards an overtime with Virtus.pro being allowed to fight their way back into it? Personally, I think we're going to see some different ideas coming in from SSG. I think we'll see them trying some different things. I can already see, once the replays are done, we'll be going into the round. We've got Blackbeard on the board, so already trying different things.
That's the key thing for me, is about adaptation. And the one thing that we saw SSG doing really well in their games yesterday is being able to go from slow to fast at the drop of a hat. And it's the one thing that I was worried that we wouldn't really see on the other side. I mean, look at the comp coming out from Virtus.pro this round. Like, everyone here is extremely slow. Yeah, it's very dug in, I'll give them that much. Normally you'd see a Maestro getting brought out, you'd immediately see a Bravo in response. Not being brought along here, because SSG are coming in with a strat they've got prepped. That's why you've got the Blitz, it's why you've got the Ying, it's why you've got the Glaz on side. They could just overwhelm Virtus.pro at the drop of a hat here, so keep a close eye out for when you have these the key operators around site itself, and they're starting to think about the execute.
Ashen going to get himself into port check very quickly. Nitro will go out. It's not going to do the job. Doesn't find its mark. Ashen's going to smoke himself off, and then he can just have a look through with that thermal scope, see if he can spot anybody. Red pings are coming in to tell him that they're there, but as he tries to get aggressive, tries to push himself into a position to do something about it, Joystick is going to swing out into Wedding and find his man, and that is a big loss for SSG. They've got the Ying on side still, they've got the Blitz, they've got plenty of tools to potentially push on and aggress into sight, but you know that the Glaz was going to be a big part of that.
I really love, because what they identified there was Ashen was the only one really inside the building and making any particular moves, so their red line became the red corridor. They moved 4 players up to it and were immediately trying to aggress onto him. Didn't matter so much that he was sat inside of the smoke. They ignored that for the most part and looked out towards restaurant window in case the second player was coming in for the challenge. But as soon as he steps forward, he's easily shut down. And then just like that, SSG have to peel back a little bit, slow things down again, back on the drones, of which they only have a few left already, and then start figuring out what the next move is going to be without a Glaz to execute with.
Blitz is going to hop over then, look towards the top of Brown Stairs, take out the default camps before heading on down, I would imagine. Hatch likely to be opened, yes it will be, into Freezer. So lots of work being done by SSG here, nice and quick. 1 minute 20 still left on the clock, so they've certainly got time. The big question is, can they deal with Dan inside of VIP? They need to get that space. If they're going to be looking for a Freezer drop, they've got to clear the smoke out of there, because otherwise he's just going to cause a constant nuisance for them.
gets one more to bring it back out. And now finally the Candela start ringing on through to try and give them some kind of ground. Just at the bottom of Brown here as well to force something in. Forrest now inside the coast as well, starting his march on forward off towards the right-hand side, but they really needed to get that gunfight onto Always. He's going to win it out, and you've still got Dan dug in pretty deep here, and like that, they're mowing them down. Forrest might find one back. In fact, make it two with the pistol, just like that on the Blitz. He's doing Blitz things. What else is there to say? 2 versus 2, and one's isolated inside of VIP. This is looking good, and this is where Blitz really starts to shine. Steps in and finds his one. A triple kill for Forrest on the Blitz in this round, and now Joystick has got it all to do. And if you recall, he's out towards Bakery side, so he has got some longer angles to play with here, but he's got to find his man.
Yeah, he needs to keep that Blitz at distance.
Nice.
He's a little bit late on the peak to find the Blitz, but does manage to find Benja, and that's all he needs, realistically. Because with 10 seconds left to go, Joystick can just play this dance. He needs to keep distance. That's the important thing. He's out of there. He knows there's going to be no planting coming. The best that they can hope to do is Forrest spraying up through the ceiling. He's not going to find his man. It's unfortunate for Forrest. He had a great passage of play there where he got a brilliant 3K on the Blitz. Really showed the power of that shield, but Joystick just using all of that experience, all of that knowledge at the end there to know that all he needed to do after he finds Benja is to keep his distance from the danger at the front of that shield, keep away from those 18 flashbangs that were going to ruin his day, and just get to the end of the round. Well played from Joystick. 5-3 now, and Virtus.pro, they're on the comeback trail.
Defense-sided Cafe. I love it. It's really funny when I think about it. Old school Virtus.pro, Pasha was on that team and they had 4 different players with them back in the day. I remember watching one of their games on this map, and it was WTG, actually, their Hibana player at the time. It was the most like dry, boring game of Cafe you've ever seen. Like every round, an absolute shutout by the defense. And I remember it was won by the first player in that game being WTG to actually make a bit of a risky play, where he charged his way through Piano, straight in towards Pixel, and just swung onto the guy that was sat inside a bathroom, and that basically opened the round up for them, and they won from there. I remember being like head in hands, just like, why didn't we see this a little bit sooner? And it's one thing I'll give to SSG. They are trying to force the issue here, but Virtus.pro, to their full credit, really know how to shut down the potency of these attacks. And every mistake that gets made, Ashen overextending a little bit or leaving that clock a little bit too late, they're making SSG pay for it. Really close game though, and I do think that 5-3 gap is only going to continue to close.
On into round 9 then, and it's going to be Virtus.pro this time defending Reading. So much as we always would expect, we're going to have a top floor presence from them. They've got the vertical holes opened up themselves onto areas like Reading Door to just prevent any potential rush coming in from SSG, because they are the kind of team that you think could, you know, potentially bring something like that. Just switch it on, think, right, let's just try and grab a round in the first 30 seconds, just barge on into site and see if we can get some kills. We're not going to see anything quite as extreme as that from them yet. It looks like it's going to be fairly standard. Try and get a hold of top floor. We've got the track stingers going out there just to prevent the potential for flanks, and we'll just try and now get things going. They don't want anybody hopping out of that heaven window, trying to make a challenge, make a play, maybe look across towards New Hatch, anything like that. They're just trying to avoid.
Don't blame them either. It's almost like weird when you're forcing SSG to be a little bit more slower and more composed. It feels quite strange. Is that more erratic nature of the dimension where they can suddenly find someone in the middle of sight, or someone goes on a tear, as you saw from Forrest in that previous round? It's the kind of thing that opens things up for them. Capital, interesting, one of their most played operators as a team there. They really love the capability that brings. I always speak about, wax lyrical about Capital, love how much utility it brings. The fact it's a 3-speed, a Gon 6, good gun, micro EMPs to replace the Thatcher, plus the fire and the smoke. What more could you ask for in an operator? He seemingly does everything. And they like making use of these more set-piece plays or to open up areas of the map. Problem is that they're going to get the opportunity. We're halfway into the round and they've barely even started an entry into this top floor.
Virtus.pro certainly making things difficult for them at the minute, holding on to a lot of tricky positions, making it difficult for them to move. We're going to see a little hop over the skylight there, and
straight in.
Oh, quite immediate aggression from Forrest here as he tries to move on in. Pasha does manage to shut down Fultz. Joystick, I think, well aware that he's got a player just off to his right. Dan is going to pick up J90. Joystick, as I said, aware of Benja's position. Virtus.pro again, just absolutely rock solid. They've planted their feet. They know where they need to hold, and they continue to do so. And Virtus.pro just showing they look like a different team. Now they are on the defense. I said that Virtus.pro will often perform to the level of what is in front of them. SSG came out with a great first half. Virtus.pro come back with an answer.
I was tapping my hands there like it's got to be attack timeout, and sure enough, SSG call one in. Let's see if we can listen in, actually. Nah, I can't really hear anything. I won't try. It's one of those, though, I think, with them. It's, again, the small mistakes that get made. Like, we saw the Bees clear as day there, missing the cocktail player, and he got a free kill. This is what I mean by the small mistakes that get made, teams will capitalize on, and that's exactly what Virtus.pro is doing. Putting up a very strong defense, letting SSG make the issues, whether it's a second of missed timing, whether it's a misplaced Grim Gadget. It doesn't matter what it is, they're finding something in each round here where it's giving them 2 or 3 kills, and they just snowball on towards victory at that point. And SSG are really struggling to find a way into this half. If it carries on like this, Virtus.pro walk away a 7-5 win.
Okay, well, this is it. You sort of come into the, you know, Virtus.pro win a round or two, and you start thinking, right, you know, we're looking at potentially overtime here. Is it going to be a 5-1 run back from Virtus.pro? But when you get to this point, when they've had 3 consistent rounds like they have, that SSG, like I say, they look completely different to how they did in the first half. And I know there's a big difference between defending and attacking, but, you know, the sort of the surprises have gone, the aggression has gone, you know, they haven't been able to take control, you know, find the onus of the game like they did in that first half on defense. And it's just showing that, you know, they're struggling to find the answers to what Virtus.pro are doing. And by contrast, we said Virtus.pro will play as you expect them to play. They will hold the angles that you expect them to hold. They're just going to be better than you on them. And right now, that's what Virtus.pro are doing.
Let's look at the numbers here as well. Like, they've got every single entry so far across these 3 rounds. And outside of round 8, where Forest had that almost big clutch off, but only managed to find 3, round 7 and round 9, Virtus.pro had 4 players still standing come the end of the round. That is how dominant their rounds, again, except for round 8, have really been. And then round 8 was down to 1 player almost going absolutely nuclear. So I just worry that for SSG, if they don't find the answer at the back of this tack timeout, I think it's probably going up 7-5. They've got to find something in this round in particular if they want any hope of coming away from it. And I think that really means playing more as a team and not having players sort of step forward ahead of the rest of the pack, as we've seen Ashen do once or twice and find himself picked off.
I've just had a quick check of the botherometer, Des,
yeah.
And I can confirm that it has swung back from panic to unbothered for Virtus.pro.
You think they're really unbothered?
At the moment, I think they're a little bit unbothered.
All right. A little bit unbothered. So that's just slightly bothered.
Yeah.
That's what the whole, like, couldn't care less,
we need a scale.
Could care less thing.
From unbothered to panic. We need a scale.
It's saying like I'm not bothered. So it means you actually are bothered a little bit, though, somewhere.
Like I said, the last 3 rounds,
the biggest annoyance, the biggest Americanism that drives me crazy is that could care less piece. So that means that you can still care less. Implying here they're still somewhat bothered. My head hurts. I've not had enough sleep for this game.
I knew you were going to be like this. Out of the window they go. I think maybe getting a little bit carried away. Caster's curse comes in. I say that Virtus.pro are playing like they're not, you know, not being bothered inside a site. SSG are not managing to ruffle their feathers. But then we see them come in and manage to find a big triple to kick things off. Much better from SSG. That gets them the top floor control. Use their utility well to gain that advantage. And now they can start opening up those angles down onto the floors below them. And Virtus.pro, they're going to have a tough time holding on here. It's Joystick and Shepherd. If there's 2 who can, you know that it's them. But are they going to? I'd say quite unlikely.
Probably not. They've got a C4 to play behind with Joystick here as well. But this is what SSG needed. And I guarantee the coach is behind at this point. It's the call-outs there like, guys, please, just slow down. We've got half a round to play with. We're in a 4v2. If you lose this, it feels like an absolute disaster. It's like a coach's worst nightmare. Same for the players, I'm sure, too. They know that this is their round to lose. They simply should not be losing it.
Full straight out the piano window for that quick rotate so he can get himself onto site window. He's just going to be supported by his teammates above now. Joystick is in a tough position here. They know that he's underneath, sends out the nitro. It's going to be shot out, and it's surely a matter of time until one of them manages to get an angle onto him underneath. He's playing around the train carriages, just trying to keep himself off the radar. Has been successful so far. Shepherd's holding a long angle onto the window. If he finds this, it could be round defining. We will see. As it stands, he hasn't, but he tries to continue holding them off.
Just need the 1 here, and Joystick's already stepped across and found 1. Found 2.
Surely not.
Surely they don't collapse and buckle here at the dying moment when they could get themselves up to match point. They're not going to hold on though. J9 gets 1 more. Down to the 1 versus 1. Joystick's got to hold on. J9, no! He's not going to get it! Joystick finding all of the final 4, and Virtus.pro bring the square at 5 apiece.
Joystick just flipping to the deagle for the last 2 days. It's an absolutely wonderful wonderful headshot through the window of the train carriage. What you can see? I can see a headshot. That's what I can see. Absolutely beautiful stuff there from Virtus.pro. 2 versus 4. That is going to be crushing for SSG. They come out of a tactical timeout. They get a triple kill. They find themselves 4v2 in the round. Surely the tac timeout has worked. Surely this is the one where they get onto match point and they're not going to be run over on a complete reverse sweep. But no, a 2v4 is held onto by Shepard and Joystick. Absolutely unreal.
The thing is, they knew
I said they were capable. I said if there was 2 who could, it was them. And they did.
They knew that he stepped in towards Train because he's tossed that C4 Sky. They had him sort of pinned in there. They knew what was going on. What I'm kind of surprised by is they didn't try to make a plant happen inside a Train. Instead, they were focused on trying to go for kills, and I mentioned at the start of the game that Joystick, I know he's had a bit of a quiet start. Over the last 10 weeks, he's been the lowest rated player on this team, but when he gets fragging, he gets fragging. He's sat at 12 and 5 right now, and a 4K to get his team up to a square pegging. This is theirs for the win still. SSG, they did bounce back after their attack time. They looked better, but I think the decision-making end of that round, I'm sure they've got a good reason for it, but you've just let Joystick into the game, and you've now put yourself on an even keel where Virtus.pro can go on to win that 7-5 scoreline that we spoke about.
Honestly, mentally, I think it's going to be terribly difficult for us.
Wait, Tim, did you hear that again, by the way? That sound of silence? Oh, of course, Ashen's not speaking. They're not winning, that's why. Got it.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, a hammer blow to mentality, potentially.
Nice.
Tactical timeout, and then you suffer the loss of a 2v4, but Benja does manage to pick up always. That's going to be the mute gone. So a nice little pickup to kick things off. Of course, the jammers will already be out there, so the utility is not a loss, but nade goes in, and just trying to deal with this player inside of VIP at the minute. Know that they need to take out the Vulcan canister before they can start pushing in and getting aggressive there. So Dan, for the time being at least, is still reasonably safe in his position for another 10 seconds or so.
It's not a bad start. We've got 1, but they had 3 last time, Tim, and still couldn't get it over the line. It's a similar setup to before. You know, we spoke about this back in round 7 with the Blitz and the Glass and the Yingle coming together. It's not at all surprising to see that be a thing for them. Again, somewhat surprised that there's no Brava being brought along here, knowing what's being brought up. Well, you've got the bulletproof cameras, you've got the Maestro cam scattered around the map as well. I get it, they can shoot back, but that's a lot of information you can steal away from the other side. Benja taken down, maybe a late trade, but it's a trade nonetheless.
Yeah, it's going to be Pasha picking him up. Dan manages to get himself into court check as well. Knows that there's going to be potentially a bit of pressure. It's the Blitz, actually, that's lining up for maybe a little restaurant push, but I'm not sure he's going to be happy with what he gets served up if he goes in through that main door, because Dan is there waiting and ready. He's got Ashen in support as well. The question is, can they get close enough, quick enough? That is the challenge. He needs to get right up in Dan's face before a kill, and he can't do it. Dan was ready. He tickles the feet and takes down Forrest, finds Ashen as well. That's the Glass gone. SSG are crumbling.
We've got a Blitz, we've got Candelas, and Dan's like, I don't need to see, I can still shoot you. I just sense where you are. And he's found 2 inside a coat. That's the back of this attack broken. Nothing more to say for SSG. No Candelas to play behind. This is looking dire, Tim. They're really giving this game away, and that 7-5 that I was speaking about, it's kind of breathing itself into life here. Virtus.pro willing it into existence.
I genuinely believed SSG getting themselves into the second half on the attack that there would be rounds that they could find. We knew it would be more difficult. Virtus.pro on defense were always going to be better than on attack, but still, you know, to lose it to this degree as they are at the minute, they were 5-1 up. They are fractions of seconds away from finding themselves now 6-5 down and facing a map point. This is absolutely unreal on both sides. SSG unable to find a single attack, unable to find a killing court check when they're going in with a Blitz and a Glass.
It's crazy.
Losing both operators.
And Candela's coming in as well. Like I say, it's bonkers because they banned the Warden away for this exact purpose. We spoke about it back in the first half with the Warden on side.
Yeah. Just have Dan.
Yeah, no Warden on side. Ying is like broken at that point. Like back to the days when there was very little ability to deal with her, and she's obviously got more Candelas now than ever before. The smoke's in back pocket. She is so oppressive with no Warden on the field, but they simply just cannot find an answer. So ready there, Dan. He's played it so well. The whole
I love
team
even
have.
his character animation. Even Legion had his hand up in front of his eyes like, this is too much light.
This is too easy. I'll handicap myself and see if I can still win. And the answer was yes. Virtus.pro are now at match point after winning 5 rounds in a row. They were down 5-1, and we said SSG, they came in with the perfect game plan. Problem is, Tim, their game plan stopped at the defensive half. And here on the attack, no matter what they might try, they cannot find a way through this Virtus.pro side. It may have taken a massive clutch out of Joystick, but you'll take it every once in a while.
The thing is, this is the problem when you play Virtus.pro. They perform to what is in front of them, and they have got players who are more than capable, especially on LAN, of going absolutely huge, Des. And Joystick has done it time and time again over the years as a Shepherd, and they prove it again today to put Virtus.pro now in a position where they can get this done. Dan as well. The thing is, you can name any of these players, Pasha always, they all have that clutch ability. They all have that potential in them to just turn around on its head. You know, it was Joystick and Shepherd in the 2v4. It was Dan inside a court check. No matter what SSG are throwing at them, it's just not happening. And SSG, it's tough for them, but they've got to find a way, and they've got to find it now, because otherwise that great 5-1 half that they had on the defense is going to be for nothing.
Painful thing is the assault onto Coat in that last round, I think, was actually the right idea. They're used to the utility. They know there's no ward, and it was the right idea. But you're losing those gunfights like that when VP is shooting back the way that they are in this half. It doesn't really matter what you do strategically or tactically. You get battered when it comes round to how things play out mechanically. 5v5, and no one's gone down too early on. Certainly not a bad start. The last couple of rounds, we have seen SSG step up and get the entry. So they are improving, just not quite to the level that's then guaranteeing them or securing them these round closes they so sorely need.
Dan knows that there's one on the wide corridor window there, so he doesn't want to peek around too wide. He knows that they will certainly see his feet before he can get anywhere near a view onto them, so he's going to hold his position for the time being. SSG have got themselves inside of the building, established inside of Cigar at the minute. Need a little bit of backup here, maybe, Benja. He's got another one with him in Piano now, which is at least going to be helpful. They can start to think about pushing forward from there, wanting to get this top floor control so that they can use those verticals, as we've discussed many times. But are they just going to take a drop down here and maybe try and put a bit of pressure directly into Dining? They've got J90 on the window.
Try something cheeky here. We've got the glory of a top-down view, so we can see, like, SSG are scattered all towards the west side of the map here, just like this. Thank you very much, observers. And you can see all of Virtus.pro are very much condensed up towards the right-hand side here, admittedly spread over a couple of floors and very heavily around white stairs. But that means for SSG, that's the control they need, because they know from here they can't safely plant inside a fireplace with white stairs not in their control. So Reading becomes the next bet, but they're not even bothering with that. They're just running head first into Virtus.pro, who are all too happy to oblige and take their lives.
3 versus 5 now. SSG fighting for survival. Managed to get a plant, but it's unlikely to matter. 1 versus 5. Benja needs to find a miracle. Needs to find some magic. The magician he will not be. As Virtus.pro get the final kill, they disable the diffuser, and they go from 5-1 down for 6 straight rounds to take a 7-5 victory. And overall now stand on 2 wins and 1 loss in the Swiss phase of the Montreal Major.
I think Pasha stood up before it even held down F to disable the diffuser. SSG really folding like a deck chair in that second half, though. Like, what more is it to say? Virtus.pro played it really well, but it's one of them to look at and say they didn't really have to change much, like very consistently running operators like the mirror and leaning in towards things like smoke. Had the Maestro coming out a couple of times, and actually it was SSG that we didn't see really adapting to those challenges overall. It was definitely a game of 2 halves where the defenders came out on top, but that round 3 win for Virtus.pro, where the plant went down, will be the one that makes the difference.
Virtus.pro have had an amazing second half there. You look through the kills with the joystick on 12. We had a couple on 11 each as well. Everybody really chipping in, and it's just been a great performance from them. I think Virtus.pro maybe surprising a few people so far here at the Major, and really showing that, you know, you can't forget about them. You might look at them in the stage and say, you know, they were there or thereabouts. They've qualified, you know, they did okay. But when they get onto LAN, these players, they just take it to another level.
Now that puts them now into that 2-1 bracket, as well as the key thing to note, which will make things very interesting, because waiting for them up there, of course, is BDS. I think Chiefs up there with them as well. We saw Team Secret making it up earlier as well. Plus, you'll have the teams that come down from our best of threes later out of FaZe, Falcons, W7M, or Liquid. Some of those best of threes that will take place tomorrow are going to be so saucy. I'm loving it.
We've got a day off tomorrow. We can just sit and enjoy that. That's going to be
enjoy.
Yeah, that's going to be something.
The scary thing is, again, it really fulfills that whole thing I always say of two halves to a game of Siege. Like, a team that's terrible on attack can be really good in defense, and things can change places so quickly. You've just seen that because, again, I had full praise for SSG and their backroom staff. They look so well prepared with their defenses to deal with the way that Virtus.pro play. But when it came around to switching sides, they just could not string an attack together. I think you might find Virtus.pro prove to be very hard to break down on the defense in future, especially on a map like Cafe. Again, a reminder, a map they haven't banned in the last 10 weeks. They always want to go to this map. It's teams that ban it against them. I think we just found out why.
Yeah, I think we did. As you say, we just see the highlights rolling in there. That joystick clutch at the end with on the pistol was just absolutely unreal.
He stood up thinking he's finished.
Don't do it! Don't
Imagine if the timer was low enough to then lose the round.
Oh,
imagine.
And it goes to overtime.
Oh.
Don't. Always remember to hold F until the job